And if you look at our strategic plan and our core strategies, scientific leadership and scientific knowledge is the first thing. Our journal, Meat and Muscle Biology, was just awarded its first impact factor. And so we're expanding our global presence and doing a lot more international publishing around that.
Hello, many folks. Welcome back to the MeatsPad podcast. My name is Francisco Najar, and we're almost wrapping up this RMC 78th here at Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. And I was eager and very wanted to sit down with the ones responsible to make this happen. And as we always do, we wrap up this RMC sitting down with Deidre and Colette. Thank you for having us back having MeatsPad back at RMC. I think this is the 5th or 6th year that we're doing it. We continue to be happy and honored to be a partner of MSA. Thank you.
Well, we love our partnership with you. You and Phil do a tremendous job, and it's just a highlight to hear all of our members throughout the year and the great questions you ask them.
Deidre, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for having such great podcasts that come out of this meeting that then we can actually circle back and share and just show how broad the topics are and your podcast is.
Yeah, believe it or not, everyone thinks like, okay, we had a lot of things to do, but we don't see each other a lot during this thing. So
no.
I guess we see more through Zoom meetings and things. But I think we can briefly talk about how's RMC 78th wrapping up, and maybe perhaps we can talk about the attendees, what things stood out compared to 2024 and so forth.
Yeah, so the 78th RMC here in Columbus is wrapping up. I always say they get better each year, and I don't know how we do it, but we managed to pull that off. So we've ended up with over 930 attendees here, hosted by the Ohio State and JBT Morrell. So we've had a great representation, over 350 students from the U.S. and some international, and then a lot of our academics, industry, and other partners are here as we celebrate over about 120 speakers over 2.5 days of programming. So it's been a great combination to see the networking, the research information, the new topics come up. So it's almost over. Today's going to wrap up with our banquet, and then we'll finish everything off tomorrow at noon after we have a great panel discussion. So super excited, and the hosts have just been amazing here.
Yeah, no, and absolutely. And I think a part of the I don't know how you do it, but I'm sure you already started planning for next year, right? So
yes.
I had the opportunity, and Colette, thank you for setting up the talk with Frederick Leroy after his keynote talk. And I think I've been going back and forth. There's a couple of things that have been repeated throughout this RMC is how do we deliver more high-quality products to the consumers. So I think in back and forth with the content and the reciprocation sessions, I think we continue to see that demand and questions from consumers, right? Because I was talking to you, when I think about what we do is industry, government, and academia, right? But everything is kind of driven by what the people and consumers want. And I think I love how we continue to see that collaboration. And I guess Colette, you can tell us a little bit about how from last year in 2024, how does MSA continue to strengthen the relationship between academia and industry?
Yeah, that's a good and very broad topic. But the thing that we focus on first and foremost is the fact that we are a scientific association. And if you look at our strategic plan and our core strategies, scientific leadership and scientific knowledge is the first thing. And so when you think about keynotes like Dr. Lois or Dr. Belk's keynote this morning, it's all about conducting solid science, leading with science, and communicating that science. And so in the case of meat in the diet, which has been a really hot topic over the last year, we did the societal role of meat meeting, and now we've covered this in a keynote and a concurrent, as well as picking it up in some reciprocation sessions. And so we know that meat is a high-value food product. And we know that in the past year, there's been drafts of things like the dietary guidelines. There's always a plethora of different kinds of information out in social media, whether it's carnivore diet or, every different extreme that you can have. But the focus on protein, we heard a lot of discussion here on the value of amino acids, vitamins, and minerals that are specific to meat. But what we have to get better at as scientists and equip people with is information that's done in the same kind of sound bites as people who are against eating meat. And so that's why we also sprinkle through the program communication strategies, leadership strategies. We've equipped the students with an activity called Meet the Truth, where they'll pick out some key pieces of information about meat that they'll share with their peer groups, because they're still in college, and so they have peer groups that extend beyond meat science. There are members who might share that kind of information with people at church, at school, at a ball game. And so it's not direct to a broad consumer audience like what our partners in industry do, but it is a way for us to begin to teach people how to communicate simple but important information.
Yeah, and because the scientific knowledge is here, and how that's was I guess the next question was going to be, how do you communicate all this information, this knowledge, and digest it to children, to people in the family members? Like, it's sometimes it's hard to digest that, but ultimately that's what we always want to do, right? How to communicate better so that they understand, because sometimes that's I was hearing a lot too, like when we don't understand the importance of something or why it's there, there's a natural fear, but because you don't understand, and a lot of that is there's no scientific background on any statement. And we discussed with Dr. Leroy about, just back and forth with a 2015 statement from WHO that red meat and processed meats, it causes cancer, and it kind of like I like that, because they consider that in that paper as a hazard, but to continue, they have to be or do like a risk assessment to prove that that's true. There's a lot of things, but there's a lot of statements that are not true out there, but when they get repeated, a lot of people think, okay, that might be true, and well, I guess that's going back and forth with social media, and how do we get better at that, because that's a reality. It's just social media continues to be a route for many people, and that's the truth. They don't go to a library to educate themselves. They go to TikTok, and who's doing TikTok? Well, somebody that talking perhaps about some strategy anti-meat, and they don't even know when to have that background, and they just repeat something. So I don't know, it's maybe going off the topic, but it's a reality that maybe 20 years ago, there was an anti-meat agenda. Well, perhaps it was, but it was not as strong as we do it now. So I think we getting better at communicating why is meat important in the diet.
Well, I think the other highlight beyond, the communicating that to consumers is there are more and more researchers. Like if you look at the concurrent session that we had with Dr. Ayub, Dr. Bellery, and Dr. Gifford, they're presenting super solid information on the importance of meat at various ages and stages of one's life. Some of that is finally making its way into the medical and dietitian community, and partners of ours like NCBA, Pork Board, they've worked really closely with Christy to try to get super solid information that we can work together to share.
What is new to MSA since last RMC? Like, how is that transition from 2024 to 2025?
Well, you can see Deidre and I looking at each other. There are, what isn't new,
Yeah.
There's lots of activity around RMC, around youth programs, communicating, and so we definitely always stay busy.
Yeah, so, because the big focus, especially with RMC next year, is we're going back to Texas. So West Texas A&M is going to be hosting the 79th RMC in conjunction with the 100th year of meats judging. So there's a big push and excitement around that. A lot of people even researching back to what the first contest had, so we could kind of have a throwback contest and bring carcasses and things back to what was seen in 1926 in the very first meats judging contest. So a lot of excitement there, a lot of excitement around our student growth and our student opportunities. And then now that we have a staff capacity to kind of hit on your point of bringing information into the social platforms that the consumers are looking at it for, and trying to tailor our information even to our members, our student members and our professional members. There's certain things we put in different places based on what we're trying to get across. So trying to stay up with that, share those informations, those sound bites, listening to our members, which are our consumers, because that's how we come up with our, program ideas. In 2024, we had a big push on having more leadership-focused conference. So we did that. This year, they wanted more science back, more things that they could take away, sound bites, things that they could share within their research communities and bridge that gap. And so I think that's what you're seeing in this program. So as we go into August, it'll be fun to see what this next planning group gets together and decides, the tracks. Is it going to be food safety and meat in the diet and muscle biology? What are we going to really look at? What are some new things we need to explore? We're going to be in the Texas Panhandle. Water resources are very, very scarce out there. So what is that program going to look like? Are there new topics we can bring in? So RMC is always fun because you kind of, as you move regions, you move, you change the topics that people are passionate about and then the other resources that you can bring in. So it's exciting.
Well, the other thing I might share is this year we've really been able to bring members together, and so we were granted support dollars from the USDA Technical Assistance Provider Program, and we were able to partner with a lot of different universities to provide outreach to meat processors, to extension people, to students, to labor and workforce development, all the while communicating stuff about the meat industry, good manufacturing practices, food safety practices, animal welfare, product development, and helping to communicate those messaging, but while supporting programs that our members are really involved in as well.
Well, that's a lot, and that's going to happen throughout this month and 2026. All these programs that you're talking about.
Yeah, well, some of them have already happened in the past year. Some of them will be forthcoming. A couple more things are journal, Meat and Muscle Biology, was just awarded its first impact factor. You may have heard that in the session this morning. That will open up a lot of people to be more interested in publishing in that journal because that's an important metric to the academic community. And so we're expanding our global presence and doing a lot more international publishing around that. We'll be highlighting that at the International Meat Congress as well, and really focusing very much on it. We also had a special issue of Animal Frontiers after we helped to put on the Societal Role of Meat and Livestock meeting, where Dr. Lois and Belk also spoke, along with several others, and Colorado State hosted that. And then we're kicking off a series for that around meat processing. There are not that many academics and researchers that still work in meat processing. A lot of that work is done in industry, but we're going back and updating materials on processed meat measurement techniques. The next issue of Animal Frontiers will be focused on processed meats. And so I think we're just trying, like Deidre said, to make sure we're covering all the topics that are important to our members.
Covering all topics. That's amazing. And really, I appreciate and what you do, because ultimately, a lot of the times we focus a lot on the operation, right? I mean, I talk to myself about that. Focus a lot on the operation. It's hard sometimes to plan a strategy because you're so focused on get this done, get that done. But it's so important to make time to plan.
Yes. Yeah.
To make a strategy, because that's what's driving the next year RMC, the next MSA strategy. And I really thank you for your leadership, and really looking forward to seeing you back again in Amarillo next year.
Yep, we are as well.
For sure.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you again, Colette,
Thank you.
Deidre, for having us, and we see you next year.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
Thanks for all you do.